What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. And look at that, the fucking sun is coming back. It's just so bizarre, Arizona. It's almost kind of acting like Washington with the weather-wise. Because a few weeks ago, well actually I guess, okay, I'll start back to when we moved here. We moved here like about 4 months ago, almost 5 months ago. And we had perfect fucking weather, perfect like 180 degree weather. Or not 180, 105 degree weather. Sunny all the fucking time. In December it was still fucking warm. It's 64 degrees, 65, whatever. And amazing weather. You know, October was nice, November was nice, December was nice, January was still nice. It was, you know, it was slowly getting colder and colder. And because I'm not familiar with their like winter season over here, so I don't know the patterns yet. But so then, you know, it slowly starts getting colder, and then for whatever reason, according to my girlfriend's family, is that Arizona it's not normal for Arizona to get a lot of rain. But for whatever reason, I can't remember if it was January or February. I think it's probably both. But we were getting tons and tons of rain, like constant rain, like day after day. You know, maybe a couple days nice, and then back to rain again, which is really bizarre because they said it's not normal to get this much rain. And when it rains, it fucking floods everywhere because they don't really have, they're not built for like rain because they don't get a whole bunch of it. So it's like they don't really prepare for it. So we got a shit ton of rain, a bunch of gloomy weather, which we're like, oh, this is not normal. And then finally, the rain was like slowly going away. We were starting to get nice weather, but it was still kind of cold out. It wasn't really the warmest. So, like I said, it was starting to get sunny out. The weather was still a little cold. And then out of the blue, we got hit with a bunch of snow in literally like 2-day span. Like it started overnight, and we got tons of snow to where, like I said in my other videos, I literally had to take like the back road just to get home because all the main highways to get to where I live was closed because the police closed it off. And I have to go over a pass just to get home. And that was really bizarre because there was a lot of snow. And so then literally like the next day or two, the snow is all gone. Back to fucking sunny blue skies. And you know, at first when it started raining, we're like, what the fuck? You know, we moved out of Washington to get away from the rain. And so now we got a bunch of rain, and then we got hit by a snowstorm. And then now we're back to fucking, you know, blue skies. And then the other fucking day, we got hit with like a super like thunderstorm with lightning, and then we got hail. And then just like when I was trying to drive home, I almost couldn't see in front of me because of how bad the rain was. So because of all that rain we got, and like everything flooded, and we had a whole bunch of like mud and water mixture, and it was not great. So my already needing repair Subaru, especially my wheel bearing, that shit fucking made it worse, and to where it was actually grinding on my way home. So now I have no choice but to replace my wheel bearing again because of all this shit. So unfortunately it's supposed to rain like Tuesday and Wednesday next week, which that's obviously when my part is supposed to be delivered, Tuesday, and you know, I can't even ride my bike to work, so which kind of blows. I like living in such a small town that you know, there's not a whole bunch of traffic. There's not a lot of people speeding around. like I said, the demographic here is majoritively older people, which the downfall of that is that they sometimes drive really slow or they go to speed limit. And you know, back in Washington, I'm used to people always fucking speeding, always going over the speed limit. Doesn't matter what fucking street they're on, you know, and people driving recklessly, like that. So it's nice that people actually here aren't all fucking like reckless drivers and shit. But sometimes, you know, I like going fast. I hate being stuck behind slow ass fucking people. But you know, it's a small town, and so I'm like so much more grateful of being here and getting to explore a whole new state and getting away from all like the shitty drivers in Washington. And eventually I'm gonna go back down that mountain loop that I went down. You know, if I had followed, I looked it up on the maps, if I had followed that road going up there, I turned left and went up like a hill. If I had gone straight, I would have gone like deep into the mountains to where it was like a dead end. So I would have had to turn around. So me turning left right there was a good choice, because I didn't have to turn around and come back. And it was a nice fucking just little mountain loop, you know, where now that I'm a little more familiar with it, I'll probably go a little bit faster. But going through neighborhoods, you know, maybe not. So right here, this is part of Route 66. I love this area, actually being close to Route 66. Route, whatever you fucking call it. But it's such like old school shit, you know, and I love that kind of stuff. They advertise it so much. You know, and down towards the bottom of this hill, they have a little, they have a museum. And a little sign that says, you know, like Route 66. And I think they ruined it though by putting in a bunch of fucking Tesla charging machines. I mean, you guys will see it when we get down there. But I think it just kind of ruins the fucking museum. And eventually I want to be able to fucking drive my car or my Cutlass around, especially in the summertime when it gets nicer out. I want to drive it to my work, but that's such a far drive, and the fact that it only gets like 8 miles to the gallon, I feel like I'm going to be spending at least like a half a tank in gas just getting to work and back on that car. Because in my Subaru, I mean, technically it's like 48 miles away from my house, so it's like roughly 45 minutes. And my Subaru is roughly about maybe a little less than a quarter tank just to get to work and back. So if my Subaru that gets better gas mileage gets quarter tank, I can only imagine my fucking Cutlass is going to take a half a tank, because it's got a V8 in it, 8 miles per gallon. And when I used to work back in Washington, when I worked about like 36 miles from my job, it was like 16 miles one way, 16 miles back. So it was like roughly, you know, around 36 miles round trip. And that was like a quarter tank. So this, I'm going 48 miles each way. So that's like 84 miles each way. So that's definitely going to be like a half a tank just to drive it there and back. Which I don't want to spend, you know, that thing has a 20-gallon tank. So I'm not wanting to spend fucking like $100 just for a one-day trip to my car. But here's the sign I was talking about, the Route 66. Here's the museum, and then they ruined it by all these fucking Tesla charging stations. There's a bunch of old school shops, and I like that. I like modern stuff too, but I like fucking I prefer old school stuff, like nostalgic stuff. Some things like I'm not hip with the times, and I prefer like old school stuff because it's simpler, you know. And obviously it kind of reminds me back when I was younger of growing up in I was born in the 80s but grew up in the 90s. So I have not gone over here in this area yet. There was a house that we had looked at renting over here in this area somewhere. It was like a pink and white house. It was pretty big though. I don't remember where it was at. I think it was like a 2-story house. But it looked weird because I think it was like a 2 or 3 bedroom. But this area is not the greatest of areas. It's kind of a little bit more, well, it doesn't look like it's more run down. But this is considered like old Kingman. No, I don't want to go this way. Oh, that looks like a dead end too. Ooh, they got there, Dodge. See, I don't even know what's over here because I've never been to this area. I like this old school. I mean, I'm sure eventually they're gonna update this area over time, you know, and put in newer houses, modern houses, instead of it looking like such a fucking dump. It's so weird though, coming from like a really populated fucking state and city, and just coming to like such a remote area to where stuff is just like, it's almost like, you know, like a western vibe, obviously, because in the fucking desert, but you know, having a whole bunch of dirt roads and like, it's just weird. There's a road over there that I want to go down. I just gotta figure out how to get over there. It's like next to like the main road coming into town, but I don't know how to get over there. See, I don't really want to go. I do love living like an hour and a half from Vegas, because like on weekends we do enjoy going to Vegas, just fucking hanging out for the day, you know, and coming back, because we don't have obviously a lot of stuff here in town. Like we don't have any malls. The closest mall is over, you know, like 45 minutes away in the next town over, which is where I work, but it's not really a mall anymore. A lot of the stores are closed down. Probably when the whole COVID thing hit, and you know, just malls are just getting phased out. Like even the even in the town that I lived in, Washington, like the mall, a lot of stores kept closing down and they kept remodeling. And you know, if it's not like a huge mall, it's probably not gonna last. You know, not a lot of people. When I was a kid in high school, I would go there all the time, and it was pretty like popular, and like, you know, a lot of people always going there back when I was in high school. But nowadays, as an adult, it's nowhere near as, you know, like crowded. Not a lot of people go there anymore, at least from what I've noticed. And so like a lot of stores are closing down. They had like one section of the mall closed just because no businesses, and you know, and probably the majority of that's from the COVID, when people couldn't afford to stay open. So over here, you know, we don't have malls and shit, and there is a bunch of buildings that are like closed down. But you know, if we wanted to go to the mall or something, you know, we just fucking drive up to Vegas, just hang out for the day, you know, because there's just so much more stuff in Vegas that we haven't explored. And you know, I guess I've heard Vegas has like multiple malls. Like we went to one huge one, but I guess there's more. I guess there's like 3 of them or something. But at some point we are gonna go back to Vegas again, which I love going to Vegas. Eventually we want to be able to like go to Vegas and like hang out for the weekend and just fucking get a hotel